The HSS Titan materialized in a remote sector of the galaxy, a place where the stars were distant pinpricks, and silence reigned. In the vast reaches near the Orion Arm, an energy surge split the stillness, the sleek human dreadnought emerging from hyperspace with a quiet yet powerful presence. Unlike the smaller ships in the galactic community, the Titan had an imposing scale, its hull gleaming in a metallic alloy, reinforced for interstellar travel and combat alike. This ship, the pride of humanity, had been kept secret from the eyes of alien reconnaissance, a vessel that few, if any, Confederation officials had ever considered possible. On the bridge of the Titan, Captain Aidan Monroe stood tall, his figure cast in the soft glow of control panels and digital displays. His dark, observant eyes scanned the viewscreen, where distant stars formed a sparkling backdrop. There was a quiet confidence in his stance, a strength born from years of discipline and training. Captain Monroe was not a man given to theatrics or unnecessary words. He let his actions speak, and today, they would speak loudly. He glanced over to his first officer, Commander Elena Torres, who stood at her post, calm and ready. "All systems nominal, Captain," came the smooth voice of the Titan's AI, a responsive intelligence named Era. Her voice was a calm, unwavering presence on the bridge, and Monroe trusted her implicitly. "We've exited hyperspace exactly as planned." Monroe nodded, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Good. Begin preliminary scans of the area. Let's make sure we're ready for any surprises." Within moments, the data flooded in, maps and overlays flashing across the central display. They were only 2.3 light-years from the edge of Confederation space. It was close enough to be detected, close enough to send a very specific message to the galaxy. The humans had arrived, and they were ready to show their strength. This mission wasn't a covert one. It was about making a statement, bold and clear, to the powers that ruled beyond Earth. Lieutenant Raj Patel, the tactical officer, spoke up from his console, his tone carrying a slight edge of excitement. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple energy signatures in our vicinity. They're consistent with Confederation patrol vessels, and they're on an intercept course. Looks like we got their attention." Monroe's expression didn't change. He'd expected this reaction. "Right on schedule," he said smoothly. "Era, bring our shields to stand by. I want us prepared but not threatening." "Acknowledged, Captain," Era replied. A subtle hum reverberated through the ship as the Titan's energy shields began to engage, a shimmering field of protection that would withstand nearly anything the Confederation patrol ships could throw at them. Monroe didn't want to start a fight, but he wouldn't be caught off guard. The viewscreen shifted, magnifying the approaching vessels. Sleek and agile, the Confederation ships bore a distinctly different design from the Titan. They were curved and organic-looking, crafted for speed and adaptability, with surfaces that caught and refracted the dim starlight. Monroe knew these ships well enough. Their capabilities were impressive, but against the Titan they were like minnows circling a shark. Still, he admired their approach. They were, after all, here to defend their territory. "Open a communication channel to the lead vessel," Monroe commanded. "Channel open, Captain," AIRA confirmed. Monroe took a breath, then spoke, his voice calm, yet carrying an undeniable authority. "Confederation vessels, this is Captain Aidan Monroe of the HSS Titan. We are here on a diplomatic mission from humanity. We seek peaceful engagement and cooperation." There was a pause, a static hum filling the silence as the Confederation ships took in his message. Moments later, a voice crackled through the comms, the tone a mix of skepticism and barely concealed tension. "This is Commander Tella of the Confederation Patrol. Your presence here is unauthorized and may be interpreted as an act of aggression. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." A faint smile touched Monroe's face, but it was gone just as quickly. "Commander Tella, while we respect your protocols, the HSS Titan will maintain its current course and operational status. We're here as equals, not subordinates." The silence that followed was tense, punctuated only by the quiet hum of the Titan's systems. The Confederation ships had never anticipated that humanity could produce such a formidable vessel. To them, humans were a curiosity at best, a backwater civilization struggling with simple interstellar travel. The Titan's existence challenged everything they thought they knew. In the distance, Monroe saw the patrol ships shift formation, clearly deliberating. He knew they were stalling, likely sending urgent transmissions to their superiors. This situation was far beyond the typical patrol's authority. They were, at that very moment, becoming aware of a new and unprecedented force in their galaxy. Monroe glanced at Commander Torres. "Thoughts, Commander?" She studied the viewscreen, her brow furrowing slightly. "They're stalling, Captain, likely waiting for orders. But I'd wager they won't leave without a direct confrontation. We're challenging their authority just by being here." "Exactly what we intended," Monroe replied with a hint of satisfaction. He turned back to the screen. "Let's keep them on edge, but we won't make the first move. If they want to test the Titan, they'll have to make that choice themselves." As he spoke, another signal flashed on Patel's console. "Captain, I'm reading increased energy signatures on the lead vessel. It appears they're activating their weapon systems." Monroe's expression hardened, but he remained calm. "Keep shields on full power and prepare countermeasures just in case." The Confederation ships began to close in, their formation tightening as they moved. On the bridge of the Titan, a quiet focus took hold. Every officer and crew member prepared for the possibility of battle. Monroe kept his gaze steady, his confidence radiating through the bridge. Another message came through, this time with a hint of desperation in the voice. "Titan, this is Commander Tella. You are trespassing in Confederation territory. Failure to comply will result in immediate defensive action." Without missing a beat, Monroe responded, "Commander Tella, humanity has no intention of violating your sovereignty. We are here to initiate open dialogue. However, we will defend ourselves if provoked." The tension grew almost tangible, thickening the air as the Confederation ships hovered in a holding pattern, assessing their options. Monroe could sense the indecision on the other side, the hesitation mixed with curiosity. They hadn't expected humanity's tone of quiet strength, nor the Titan's formidable presence. Suddenly, the screen shifted, showing an incoming message from an unfamiliar signal. Era's voice was calm as ever. "Captain, a high-priority transmission from the Confederation Central Command." Monroe's smile returned, this time more pronounced. "Perfect timing," he murmured. He turned to the view screen, anticipation in his eyes. The game was in motion, and humanity had made its opening move. As the signal connected, Monroe stood tall, ready to face whatever awaited them on the other side. The galaxy was about to see humanity in a new light, and he intended to make every second of it count. In the heart of the Confederation's Central Council on Veron Prime, the commotion was unprecedented. Rows of holographic screens displayed views of the HSS Titan, frozen in orbit just outside Confederation boundaries, a sleek and colossal symbol of humanity's surprising power. The gathered representatives, a mix of reptilian, insectoid, and amphibian species from across the galaxy, buzzed with shock and confusion. Humanity had long been dismissed as a minor race, barely advanced enough to leave their own solar system, let alone possess such a formidable ship. At the center of the council, Admiral Kralax stood fuming. His elongated reptilian form was cloaked in ceremonial armor, his deep-set eyes blazing with a mix of outrage and disbelief. A decorated war hero and one of the Confederation's most influential military leaders, Kralax took personal offense at the sudden appearance of a human dreadnought in his sector. He slammed a scaled fist down on the edge of the council podium, silencing the murmurs of the gathered council members. "This is an affront to the order we have established," he hissed, his voice deep and resonant. "Humanity has no right to challenge our territory, let alone demand entry as if they were our equals. We must respond with force and expel them from Confederation space before they become a larger threat." Beside him, Counselor Leora, a sleek, blue-skinned aquatic humanoid, observed the screens with a cautious, analytical gaze. As a seasoned diplomat, Leora understood that humanity's arrival was not merely a military show of force, it was an attempt at redefining their place in the galaxy. She raised a webbed hand, signaling for a moment of calm. "Admiral, we must consider the implications of this encounter carefully," Leora said, her voice calm and measured. "The Titan did not engage with our patrol ships despite its clear superiority. Humanity may be reaching out with genuine intentions, attempting to open diplomatic channels." Kralax's scales bristled. "You expect me to believe they've built a ship like that simply to talk? Their power alone is a declaration of war against the Confederation. They mean to challenge us, Counselor. And if we let them go unchecked, others will see our hesitation as weakness." Around them, other council members voiced their opinions, ranging from fear to open curiosity. Many species in the Confederation had grown accustomed to their hierarchy of power. The idea of a new player as powerful as humanity unsettled them. At the same time, whispers of awe echoed through the hall as council members shared details of the Titan's technological capabilities, its armor, weapons, and advanced cloaking systems were leagues beyond what the Confederation knew of human technology. The debate was interrupted by an incoming transmission. A tall, insectoid attendant scurried to the central console, her limbs clicking as she adjusted the feed. The council chamber dimmed, and the central holographic display came to life, showing the face of Captain Aidan Monroe. He was composed, his features calm but unyielding, a subtle confidence that made an immediate impression. "Counselors of the Confederation," Monroe began, his voice carrying across the hall with clarity. "I am Captain Aidan Monroe of the HSS Titan, representing humanity's interests in this meeting. We recognize that our arrival may come as a surprise, but we have come to negotiate, not to dominate. Our goal is peaceful integration into the galactic community, on equal terms." A murmur swept through the hall. Many council members were taken aback, not only by Monroe's measured words, but by the calm strength underlying them. Leora's eyes narrowed as she studied him, recognizing the skill with which he commanded the attention of the council. This was not a leader who acted impulsively. Monroe understood the weight of his actions and the significance of his words. After a pause, Admiral Kralax stepped forward, his voice booming with unrestrained hostility. "Captain Monroe, your vessel is a threat to our security. Humanity's technology is far from the level you present today. Explain to us how you have achieved this advancement." Monroe's expression remained neutral, though a glint of pride crossed his eyes. "We have worked in isolation, Admiral, honing our skills and developing our knowledge away from the distractions of galactic politics. Humanity has always thrived under pressure, and it is that resilience that has brought us here. But our technology is not intended as a weapon against you. The Titan's strength is a means of protecting our people, just as each of your ships exists to protect your own." Kralax's mandibles clicked in frustration, but it was Counselor Leora who responded, her voice gentle yet probing. "Captain Monroe, while your words convey a noble intent, you must understand the destabilizing effect your arrival has caused. Our council is tasked with ensuring peace and balance among our member species. Your sudden presence, with such an advanced vessel, challenges that balance." "Counselor Leora," Monroe replied smoothly, "the balance you speak of is one that has long excluded us. Humanity's exclusion was not by choice but by circumstance. Today, we ask for the opportunity to share in the responsibilities of this galaxy, rather than being held at arm's length as mere observers." Leora considered his words carefully. She sensed sincerity in Monroe's voice, but also a quiet resolve that spoke of deeper motives. Humanity's patience had worn thin, and Monroe was clearly ready to stake his claim for a place in the galaxy, whether or not the Confederation welcomed them. Suddenly, a smaller display to the side flickered on, showing a live feed of a squadron of Confederation ships converging on the Titan. Kralax's eyes flashed with satisfaction as he took control of the display. "It seems some of our forces are more decisive than you, Counselor," he said, not without a hint of smugness. "Captain Monroe, you may want to reconsider your position, as your options appear to be narrowing." Monroe's calm expression didn't falter. He looked directly into the display, addressing both Kralax and the gathered counselors. "Admiral Kralax, if your ships choose to approach with hostile intent, then we will defend ourselves. But know this, the HSS Titan is not an adversary you can overpower lightly. We do not wish for conflict, but we will not turn away from it either." Kralax sneered. "Your words are as empty as your promises of peace, Captain. Let's see if your vessel is as powerful as you claim." Leora's voice cut through the tension, sharp and unyielding. "Enough, Admiral Kralax. We are not here to wage war." She turned to Monroe, her tone firm but diplomatic. "Captain, if you truly seek peaceful integration, I propose we meet on neutral ground, a single ship, one representative, and we negotiate terms face to face." Monroe's eyes softened slightly, sensing an ally, or at least an open mind, in Leora. He nodded, a slight tilt of his head acknowledging her authority. "Agreed, Counselor. We will respect your terms. The Titan will remain stationed outside Confederation space awaiting your signal." As the transmission ended, Leora turned back to the Council, addressing the gathered representatives. "This is an opportunity to understand humanity's intentions and to prevent unnecessary conflict. We must approach this with caution, but also with open minds. Captain Monroe has agreed to negotiate on our terms. Let us not squander this chance." Kralax seethed, his disdain for humanity barely concealed, but Leora's voice carried weight in the council, and he knew better than to challenge her openly. The council murmured its tentative approval, curiosity mingling with apprehension. And on the Titan, Monroe turned to his crew, his expression steely as ever. The first hurdle was cleared, but he knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, deception, and the looming shadow of potential war. For now, though, he allowed himself a small measure of satisfaction. "Prepare the Titan, Commander Torres," he said. "This negotiation is only the beginning." The Titan remained in its designated position just beyond Confederation space, its vast hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Despite the tentative agreement for negotiations, Captain Monroe sensed that the situation was far from stable. On the bridge, his officers monitored every shift in the surrounding area, prepared for any possible interference from the Confederation's forces. In the quiet tension, Lieutenant Raj Patel, the Titan's tactical officer, broke the silence. "Captain, we're picking up movement from the Confederation fleet," he reported, his voice tense. "It appears they're not all as eager to wait for diplomacy to run its course." Monroe's jaw tightened. He'd expected as much. He turned to Patel, his voice calm. "What's their formation?" Patel tapped a series of commands on his console, bringing up a holographic projection of the nearby Confederation ships. "The lead vessel is pulling closer, with the others following in a staggered V formation. They're not making an aggressive approach yet, but their weapons systems are on standby. They're testing us, Captain." "Typical maneuver," muttered Commander Elena Torres from her station beside Monroe. She studied the holographic display, her eyes narrowing as she assessed their formation. "They're looking for any sign of weakness, any opportunity to take the upper hand." Monroe nodded, his gaze steady on the approaching fleet. "Era, bring shields to full power but keep our weapons offline for now." The Titan's AI responded in her calm, measured tone. "Shields are at maximum capacity, Captain. Weapons are primed but in standby mode." Monroe's stance remained unshaken. "Let them approach. We'll see how far they're willing to push this." As the Confederation ships crept closer, Monroe couldn't help but feel a simmering anger at their hostility. The Titan had entered their territory openly, with a clear message of peace, yet instead of respecting that, the Confederation saw fit to challenge humanity's power. He knew that the sight of the Titan must have unnerved them, a reminder that they were no longer the unchallenged rulers of this galaxy. Just as he'd anticipated, a transmission request came through, the screen flickering to reveal the scowling face of Admiral Kralax. His reptilian features were taut with anger, his voice a low growl. "Captain Monroe," Kralax sneered, his compound eyes narrowing with contempt. "It seems you've mistaken our tolerance for weakness. You may speak of peace, but your presence here is an act of provocation." Monroe met Kralax's gaze without flinching, his tone controlled. "Admiral, we are here in the spirit of diplomacy," as Counselor Leora agreed. "Any provocation is purely your perception. We've taken every measure to demonstrate restraint and respect for Confederation territory." "Restraint?" Kralax's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Your vessel is a weapon of war, and yet you claim you're here in peace. Spare me your empty words, human." Monroe's expression hardened, but he maintained his composure. "If we had come to conquer, Admiral, your fleet would have already engaged. We are fully capable of defending ourselves. You may consider that carefully before making your next move." The thinly veiled warning didn't go unnoticed. Kralax's sneer faltered, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty, but it was brief. His pride and sense of superiority quickly reasserted themselves. He leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. "Then perhaps it's time we put your capabilities to the test." With that, the transmission cut off abruptly, and the Confederation fleet began to close in with unmistakable intent. Alarms sounded across the Titan's bridge as Patel read the incoming data. "Captain, they're preparing to fire," Patel reported, his fingers flying over his console to track their movements. "All ships are locking onto us. They're not holding back." Monroe's jaw clenched, his calm demeanor giving way to steely resolve. "Activate defensive protocols. Let's show them exactly what the Titan is capable of." The bridge crew moved in unison, their hands dancing over controls as the Titan's systems came to life. Shields pulsed with energy, and the ship's state-of-the-art countermeasures prepared to intercept any incoming fire. The crew knew their capabilities, and they trusted in the Titan's strength to hold against whatever the Confederation could throw at them. The first barrage hit moments later. Beams of energy and plasma torpedoes streaked through the darkness, their fiery trails illuminating the void. But as they reached the Titan, the ship's advanced shielding absorbed the impact, dispersing the energy across its hull in shimmering waves. Each blast that made contact was met with a quiet, efficient response from the Titan's automated defenses, a stark contrast to the violent assault aimed at them. Torres let out a small, satisfied breath. "Shields holding at 95%, Captain. Their weapons are barely scratching us." Monroe gave a faint nod, his gaze unwavering. Good. Keep them guessing. Era. Engage the cloaking array. Without a sound, the Titan vanished from view, cloaking itself in an energy field that refracted light and masked its presence from all known sensors. On the Confederation ships, Kralax and his forces were thrown into confusion as their targets simply disappeared. "Captain, their scanners are scrambling," Patel said with a hint of satisfaction. "They've lost visual and sensory lock. They're trying to recalibrate, but they're in disarray." Monroe allowed himself a slight smile. "Let them wonder. Prepare to reposition us behind their lead cruiser. I want them to feel our presence, but not to see it." The Titan glided silently through the void, slipping behind the lead Confederation cruiser. Monroe watched with satisfaction as the ship's crew frantically searched for any trace of the Titan, unaware that it was now right in their blind spot. Finally, Monroe decided it was time to make his point. "Era. Initiate a low-power energy pulse directed toward their main engines. Nothing damaging, just a reminder of what we're capable of." Era acknowledged, and within seconds, a concentrated beam of energy pulsed from the Titan, striking the Confederation cruiser's engines. The blast sent the cruiser spinning slightly off course, its systems flaring as its crew fought to regain control. No real harm was done, but the message was clear. The Titan was in control, and any further escalation would be on the Confederation's head. For several tense moments, silence reigned as the Confederation fleet tried to regroup. Finally, a new transmission came through, this time from Counselor Leora. Her calm face appeared on the screen, though Monroe could see a tension in her gaze. "Captain Monroe," she began, her tone respectful but urgent, "I must ask that you stand down. Admiral Kralax has overstepped his authority. The Council did not authorize this attack." Monroe inclined his head. "Counselor Leora, we are maintaining our defensive posture. We have no desire to engage further unless the Confederation forces give us no choice." "I understand," Leora replied. She cast a sidelong glance, presumably toward Kralax, whose seething presence was unmistakable just out of frame. "Admiral Kralax's actions will be addressed, but please, allow us the opportunity to resume talks as we initially agreed. Hostility will not serve either side." Monroe studied her for a moment, recognizing the delicate position she was in. He knew that while Leora seemed genuine in her desire for peace, she faced opposition from those like Kralax, who saw humanity as a threat to be neutralized at all costs. "Very well, Counselor," Monroe said. "The Titan will resume its original position outside your territory and remain cloaked, but if there is another show of aggression, know that we will respond accordingly." Leora's expression softened with relief. "Thank you, Captain. I will ensure that the Council understands humanity's willingness to negotiate." As the transmission ended, Monroe turned to Torres, who had been silently observing the exchange. She shook her head, an amused smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. "Do you think they got the message?" she asked. Monroe chuckled, a rare sound from him. "I think so, Commander, but let's keep our guard up. The Confederation may be divided, but we can't underestimate how far those divisions might drive them to act against us." With the Titan's systems primed and his crew alert, Monroe settled back, prepared for whatever awaited them. This was only the beginning, but he was certain that humanity had proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they were a force to be reckoned with. The Titan held its position on the edge of Confederation territory, cloaked and waiting as Counselor Leora prepared for a formal meeting with Captain Monroe. The council chamber on Veron Prime was tense. Representatives from numerous species had gathered to witness the proceedings, some curious, others openly wary. Leora, however, remained focused. She understood that the arrival of the Titan wasn't just an introduction of humanity's strength, but an open challenge to the Confederation's hierarchy. Back on the Titan, Captain Monroe and his crew were finalizing preparations. He knew that the Confederation was powerful and politically fractured, but he also sensed that Leora was someone who could be reasoned with. That didn't guarantee a peaceful outcome, but it was enough to give him a glimmer of hope. The bridge was quiet, the crew hyper-focused on the tasks at hand. "Captain," Lieutenant Patel said, breaking the silence, "we've established a secure channel for the meeting. All systems are on standby." Monroe nodded. "Thank you, Patel. AIRA. Initiate transmission." The main screen flickered to life, revealing the vast, opulent council chamber. At its center, Counselor Leora stood, her dignified presence contrasted by the wary glances of various council members around her. Admiral Kralax loomed in the background, his gaze cold and distrustful. "Captain Monroe," Leora began, her voice clear and composed, "on behalf of the Confederation, I welcome you. We are prepared to discuss your requests, but you must understand that your arrival has caused a significant disruption. Monroe inclined his head, maintaining a respectful tone. Thank you, Counselor Leora. Humanity recognizes the Confederation's achievements and seeks to join the galactic community as a partner, not an intruder. We understand that our presence is unexpected, but we are here to offer cooperation and shared growth. Admiral Kralax scoffed audibly, and his voice rang out through the chamber. Cooperation? He sneered. You arrive with a dreadnought, an unprecedented display of power, and expect us to believe your intentions are peaceful. This is nothing less than an act of intimidation. Monroe met Kralax's gaze, his expression calm but unyielding. Admiral, my people have spent decades preparing for the possibility of joining the galactic stage. We bring the Titan as a symbol of that dedication, not as a threat. But let me be clear, humanity will not submit or stand aside. We come as equals, or not at all. Leora raised her hand, signaling for Kralax to fall silent. Her voice remained steady. Captain Monroe, you speak of partnership. What specifically does humanity offer to the Confederation that we cannot already provide for ourselves? Monroe's gaze sharpened. We offer technology and knowledge that we've developed in isolation, advancements that rival, and in some areas surpass, the Confederation's. Our engines are faster, our medical technology more advanced, and our understanding of interstellar mechanics unique. In short, we offer resources that can benefit every species represented here, but we also bring the resilience and ingenuity that have defined humanity from the beginning. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, council members exchanging glances as they absorbed Monroe's words. The mention of superior technology and potential benefits to their own species piqued the interest of many. Even Kralax's scowl faltered as he considered the strategic advantages humanity might bring. Leora watched the reactions, recognizing that Monroe's proposal was gaining traction. She folded her hands and addressed him with a calm but intense gaze. Your offers are intriguing, Captain, but the Confederation must protect its sovereignty. If we were to accept your partnership, it would have to be under strict terms. Your fleet would be limited, your technology shared with oversight, and your actions would be regulated by Confederation law. Monroe's expression remained neutral, though a flicker of irritation passed through his eyes. Counselor Leora, humanity has not ventured this far to be placed under someone else's control. We value our independence, and we do not intend to hand over our advancements without reciprocal benefit. Any alliance must be a true partnership, not an unequal arrangement. Leora's lips pressed into a thin line. She knew Monroe was too sharp to accept limitations that would undermine humanity's autonomy. But before she could respond, Kralax stepped forward, his voice rising with anger. Enough of this charade, Counselor. The humans seek to upend our order, to plant themselves at our level without earning it. We have maintained galactic peace for centuries. The humans have no place here, and we do not need their generosity. Monroe's gaze turned icy, but he kept his tone controlled. Admiral Kralax, the Confederation's peace was achieved by excluding countless worlds from true representation. Your treaties have preserved order, but at the cost of innovation, equality, and progress. Humanity sees a future where every world has a voice, a future that we can build together. Kralax's scales flared with irritation, his claws clicking against the floor as he clenched his hands. And you would have us believe that humanity, a species we barely deemed worthy of observation, has miraculously advanced far enough to reshape the galaxy's future. A sudden commotion interrupted the exchange. A new screen activated beside Monroe's, revealing a live feed of a nearby Confederation fleet. Additional ships had joined the formation, and they were positioning themselves in a defensive ring around the Titan. Alarms rang across the bridge of the Titan, as the crew quickly registered the potential threat. Captain, Torres whispered urgently, we've got multiple Confederation ships moving to encircle us. Their weapons are armed and ready. Monroe's jaw tightened, but he addressed Leora, his tone unyielding. Counselor, you asked us to respect your space, and we have done so. Yet your forces continue to treat us as an enemy. I agreed to this meeting in good faith. If that faith is betrayed, we will respond accordingly. Leora's face paled, but she nodded. Captain, I assure you these actions are not sanctioned by the Council. I will do everything in my power to de-escalate this. But as she turned to confront Kralax, he only sneered. Counselor, humanity is a threat to our order. If we allow them to negotiate as equals, it will set a dangerous precedent. This is our last chance to drive them back before they disrupt everything we've built. Monroe's patience wore thin. Admiral Kralax, If you proceed with this hostile maneuver, you will be responsible for starting a conflict that humanity did not choose. But rest assured, if we are forced to defend ourselves, the consequences will be yours to bear." Kralax's expression twisted with disdain, but Leora stepped between them, raising her voice with authority. "This council has not authorized aggression, Admiral. Stand down or face charges of violating council directives." Her words carried weight, and Kralax hesitated, but his eyes remained fixed on Monroe, filled with bitter resentment. With a begrudging nod, he signaled his fleet to back off. The tension on the Titan's bridge eased as the Confederate ships began to break formation, pulling back to their designated positions. Monroe inclined his head toward Leora. "Thank you, Counselor. It's clear that humanity's path forward will not be without resistance, but I hope we can prove our intentions are honorable." Leora nodded, though the weight of the moment was clear in her eyes. "Captain Monroe, I will continue to support these talks, but know that convincing the Council will not be easy. Humanity's arrival has shaken the very foundation of the Confederation, and there are those who will do anything to maintain their power." Monroe's gaze was steady, his voice resolute. "Humanity understands the stakes, Counselor. We've faced adversity before, and we are prepared to prove ourselves, but we will not bend to aggression or fear." As the transmission ended, Monroe sat back, his mind racing. He'd come to the Council in peace, but Kralax's blatant hostility was a reminder that not everyone in the galaxy would welcome humanity's presence. Still, the events of the day had shown him something valuable: humanity's potential as both a partner and a force in this new galactic order. Turning to his crew, he nodded. "Prepare for our next steps. We may have allies here, but our path is still perilous. Stay vigilant." And as the Titan drifted back to its original position, its engines humming with restrained power, Monroe knew that this negotiation was far from over. The Confederation might hold the power for now, but humanity had begun to carve its place among the stars, and no force, however formidable, would prevent them from claiming it. The events of the recent council meeting lingered in Captain Monroe's mind as he paced the Titan's bridge. Kralax's antagonism had been expected, but the open aggression, especially in the face of Counselor Leora's peaceful overtures, underscored the delicate nature of these talks. The Confederation was a vast political machine, and humanity was just a single force challenging its gears. Still, he believed they could find allies among its members if they proved trustworthy. "Era," he addressed the ship's AI, "I want a full assessment of our defense capabilities. If they decide to test us again, I want to be prepared." Era's calm voice replied, "Defensive shields are at maximum capacity. All weapon systems remain on standby, fully operational. We are prepared to respond, Captain, should the need arise." Lieutenant Raj Patel spoke up from his station, a wary look in his eyes. "Captain, I don't trust Kralax to back down so easily. He's clearly threatened by us. He's likely working on his next move, something that could trap us into responding with force." Monroe nodded, thoughtful. "I agree, Lieutenant, but we're not here to start a war. We need to tread carefully, or we risk giving Kralax the excuse he's looking for." He looked out over the bridge crew, their faces tense with determination. "Everyone, stay alert and keep all systems in defensive mode only. We'll need to demonstrate our restraint as much as our strength." Moments later, a transmission came through from Counselor Leora. She appeared on the screen with a composed expression, though tension shadowed her features. Behind her, several council members whispered among themselves, watching the interaction with curiosity. "Captain Monroe," Leora began, her voice tinged with urgency, "I apologize for Admiral Kralax's behavior. His actions were not sanctioned, and I assure you he has been reprimanded. However, the Council has decided on a test, a gesture if you will, to determine if humanity is truly here in peace." Monroe's gaze remained steady. "A test? What do you have in mind, Counselor?" Leora glanced behind her before continuing. "There is a neutral planet within Confederation space, Zura Prime, known for its unstable geopolitical situation. Multiple factions vie for control, and the Confederation has long debated intervening to restore order. We have chosen to remain neutral to avoid escalating the conflict, but it is a planet in desperate need of aid." Monroe listened intently, understanding where this was going. "And you're suggesting that we intervene?" "Yes," Leora said, nodding. "We wish to see how humanity handles a delicate crisis in a foreign region without the Confederation's oversight. Your actions on Zura Prime will demonstrate the values you claim to bring to the galactic community. It will show us if your commitment to peace and diplomacy is genuine." Monroe exchanged a look with Commander Torres, who raised an eyebrow. The assignment was risky, potentially a trap, but it was also an opportunity to prove that humanity could act responsibly, even in volatile situations. "We accept," Monroe replied, keeping his voice level. "We'll approach Zura Prime with care and respect for its people and the complexities of their conflict. But understand this, Counselor. If we're attacked, we will defend ourselves." Leora inclined her head, a hint of respect in her gaze. "I wouldn't expect anything less, Captain. I will communicate the Council's decision to our fleet. Zura Prime is approximately 5 parsecs from your current location. Good luck, and know that many will be watching your actions closely." As the transmission ended, the bridge crew remained silent, absorbing the implications. Finally, Torres spoke, breaking the tension. "Captain, this feels odd," she murmured. "Sending us into a conflict zone with so many unknowns. It could be a setup." Monroe nodded. "It could be, but it's also an opportunity to show the Confederation we can be more than a military force. Humanity's reputation depends on how we handle this. We'll be cautious but thorough." He turned to Patel. "Plot a course for Zura Prime and set all systems to high alert. We'll engage in humanitarian and diplomatic measures as planned, but if anyone makes a move against us, I want us ready." Patel acknowledged the order and quickly entered the coordinates, the Titan's engines humming as the ship adjusted its trajectory. Within moments, they were en route to Zura Prime, the view from the bridge transforming into the swirling light of hyperspace. A few hours later, the Titan emerged from hyperspace just outside Zura Prime's atmosphere. The planet was a patchwork of varied terrain, lush forests, sprawling cities, and arid wastelands. Scans indicated multiple factions with fortified bases across the surface, each vying for control of critical resources and territories. The Titan's sensors detected several small spacecraft circling the planet in tense standoffs. "Multiple factions detected," Patel reported, his hands flying over the control panel. "They appear to be in a state of active hostility. Weapons are online, but none of them have the firepower to challenge us directly." "Good," Monroe replied. "Let's make it clear we're not here to escalate their conflict." He activated the communication link. "This is Captain Monroe of the Earthship Titan, requesting contact with Zura Prime's leadership factions. We are here on a humanitarian mission, and we mean no harm." After a tense moment, a response came through. A gruff, gravelly voice echoed across the speakers. "This is General Karak of the Southern Coalition. What business does an outsider have in Zura Prime's affairs? We've been sent to offer support. Medical aid, supplies, and conflict mediation if needed," Monroe explained. "We are aware of the challenges your planet faces, and we aim to provide assistance." Karak's response was laced with skepticism. "Assistance, huh? And how do we know this isn't a cover for some Confederation meddling? We've heard of you humans, but your arrival brings as much suspicion as hope." Monroe chose his words carefully. "General Karak, we are not affiliated with the Confederation's interventions here. Our goal is to offer aid without choosing sides or enforcing agendas. Let us show you what humanity can do to help. Judge us by our actions, not by rumors." The line was silent for a moment, and Monroe waited, allowing the general time to consider. Finally, Karak's voice returned, his tone begrudging but softened. "Very well. If you're genuine, then prove it. There's a city to the north, Arkan's Rest, caught between crossfire from both sides. If you can deliver aid there, it might convince us of your intentions." Monroe nodded to Patel and Torres. "Prepare the shuttles for humanitarian supply drops. AIRA, deploy med drones and medical kits to each unit. Patel, you'll lead one team, and I'll lead the other. This is our chance to make a positive impact." The crew mobilized quickly. Within minutes, 2 shuttlecraft detached from the Titan, loaded with supplies and personnel. Monroe's shuttle descended first, the planet's arid landscape stretching beneath them as they approached the beleaguered city. Smoke rose from damaged buildings, and signs of recent skirmishes scarred the ground. Civilians huddled in makeshift shelters, their faces etched with exhaustion and fear. The shuttle touched down, and Monroe stepped out, flanked by Patel and several medics. As they distributed medical kits and food supplies, Monroe's gaze met the wary eyes of Zura Prime's residents. He approached an elder woman huddling with 2 children, offering them a food packet. "Here," he said gently. "We've come to help, to ensure your people have the supplies they need." She accepted it hesitantly, looking between Monroe and the supplies with a mixture of gratitude and confusion. "Why would you?" Her voice faltered. "Why would you come to help us, strangers to this place?" Monroe's expression softened. "Because that's what humanity stands for. We believe that everyone, no matter their world or their people, deserves aid in times of need." The moment resonated with those around him. Word of the aid spread quickly, and as Monroe's team worked to treat the wounded and distribute resources, a cautious optimism grew. People began to approach, their distrust fading as the humans tended to their needs without expectation or demand. Back aboard the Titan, Torres watched the unfolding scene with a smile. "Captain's done it," she muttered, pride in her voice. "He's shown them what humanity really stands for." But as she monitored the area, a blip appeared on her screen, a large, unregistered vessel approaching from low orbit, weapons armed. Torres frowned, her pulse quickening. "Captain," she radioed urgently, "we've got incoming hostiles. Unknown vessel, heavy artillery. I think they're here to disrupt our mission." Monroe's gaze hardened, his focus shifting. "All right, team, back to the shuttles. Let's make this quick." As they returned to the Titan, Monroe knew the real test had just begun. Their humanitarian efforts had made an impression, but now they would need to prove humanity's resolve under fire. As the Titan's crew returned from the surface of Zura Prime, tension filled the air. Captain Monroe monitored the hostile vessel's approach, watching it maneuver aggressively on the Titan's scanners. He understood that this was more than a mere attempt to disrupt their mission. It was a direct challenge, a test to see if humanity's resolve would hold under the pressure of a dangerous threat. "Lieutenant Patel, report," Monroe commanded, eyes locked on the display. Patel's voice was tense but steady. "Hostile vessel is closing in fast, Captain. It's equipped with heavy artillery, significantly more advanced than what we expected from local factions on Zura Prime." Monroe's jaw clenched. "This isn't just local interference. Someone with Confederation resources wants us out of here." Torres leaned forward, her hands moving swiftly over her controls. "Shields are up and holding, Captain, but if they fire, we're in for a real fight." Monroe nodded, his mind racing through the options. He knew that firing on a vessel in Confederation space could easily escalate the situation, feeding directly into Kralax's narrative that humanity was a threat. But if he didn't act, the Titan and his crew would be in grave danger. "Open a channel to the hostile vessel," he ordered, standing tall. The screen flickered, connecting to the opposing ship. The image of a Confederation officer appeared, their face obscured by shadows, but the contempt in their voice was unmistakable. "This is Commander Thar of the Confederation fleet. Captain Monroe, you have no authority here. Zura Prime falls within our jurisdiction, and we will not tolerate human interference." Monroe's voice was calm but firm. "Commander Thar, our mission here is purely humanitarian. We are not interfering with your jurisdiction. I suggest you reconsider any aggressive actions against us." Thar sneered, unimpressed. "Humanitarian? You brought a dreadnought to a peace mission. Your presence here is nothing less than an affront to the Confederation's authority." The line disconnected abruptly, and immediately after, the hostile vessel's weapons powered up, the energy signature spiking on the Titan's scanners. Monroe's heart pounded, but he remained calm, turning to his crew. "Defensive maneuvers only. I don't want a single shot fired unless absolutely necessary. Torres, execute evasive actions." The Titan shifted position, gliding through space as Torres expertly maneuvered it away from incoming fire. The hostile vessel's first volley of plasma bolts streaked across the stars, narrowly missing their hull. Despite the intensity of the attack, Monroe's strategy held firm. "Patel, broadcast a warning to all factions on Zura Prime and anyone monitoring nearby," Monroe commanded. "Make it clear that we're under unprovoked attack while on a humanitarian mission." As Patel transmitted the message, a new voice crackled through the comms. It was General Karak, the local leader who had initially been suspicious of humanity's intentions. His voice was rough but urgent. "Captain Monroe, this is General Karak. I've seen what you're doing here. You and your people have risked your lives to help my people. If that vessel dares to fire on you again, know that Zura Prime stands with you." Monroe's chest swelled with pride and relief. The mission was beginning to pay off. Not only had they gained allies on Zura Prime, but Karak's support would be a valuable statement to the Confederation. "Thank you, General Karak. We appreciate the support," Monroe replied sincerely. But the hostile vessel wasn't deterred. Another round of plasma bolts fired from its cannons, this time grazing the Titan's shields. Torres struggled to keep up with the evasive maneuvers, the Titan's hull trembling from the intensity of the impact. "Captain, their attacks are intensifying," Torres warned, glancing over at him. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up without firing back. Monroe's mind raced. Firing would shift them from defenders to aggressors, but the Titan couldn't endure much more under relentless fire. He was about to give the order to return fire when a transmission broke through from Counselor Leora. Captain Monroe, Leora's voice was tight with urgency. I've received your transmission. Know that not all of the Confederation supports these hostile actions against you. I'm issuing an immediate order for Commander Thar to stand down. But before she could relay the command, Commander Thar's vessel fired a massive concentrated beam that struck the Titan's shields with a force that sent the entire crew reeling. The shields held, but just barely. Monroe gritted his teeth. He wouldn't allow this aggression to go unanswered. Era, prepare a controlled pulse of our plasma cannons. Target their weapon systems only. We'll disable them, not destroy them. Yes, Captain, Era responded calmly. Torres adjusted the Titan's position, allowing Patel to lock onto the hostile vessel's weapons array. With a deep breath, Monroe gave the order. Fire! The Titan's plasma cannons fired, sending a precise, controlled shot directly at Commander Thar's weapon systems. The shot struck true, neutralizing their offensive capabilities without causing catastrophic damage. The hostile ship drifted, disabled, but intact. Commander Thar's enraged voice broke through the comms once more. This isn't over, Monroe. You'll regret crossing the Confederation. Monroe's voice was unwavering. Commander, humanity did not come here to make enemies, but if we are forced to defend ourselves, know that we will. This mission was meant to bring relief, not hostility. Stand down, or face the consequences of your recklessness. Suddenly, Leora's voice returned, more composed but with a steely edge. Commander Thar, by order of the Council, you are relieved of duty for unlawful aggression. The Titan's actions have been in self-defense, and any further defiance will be treated as treason against the Confederation. The line went silent, and the hostile vessel began a slow retreat. Thar's forces, stripped of their command, backed off under the authoritative weight of Leora's command. Monroe exhaled slowly, relief settling over him. Captain, Leora continued, you've proven more than we asked for. Humanity's integrity, even under attack, has not gone unnoticed by the Council. Monroe nodded, his voice filled with gratitude. Thank you, Counselor. We were prepared for scrutiny, but not sabotage. Indeed, Leora replied, and you've shown us the strength and restraint that humanity brings to the table. I will present this to the Council. Rest assured, Captain, that today's events will shift opinions in your favor. The screen flickered off, leaving the Titan's bridge in a brief silence. Torres let out a breath she'd been holding. Well, Captain, looks like we've made a lasting impression. Patel grinned. I'd say the Confederation will think twice before doubting us again. Monroe gave his crew a proud smile. You've all done humanity proud. Today we showed the galaxy what we're made of. Not just power, but restraint and purpose. As they prepared to leave Zura Prime's orbit, messages of gratitude and solidarity poured in from the planet below. General Karak's voice was among them, pledging his faction's support and vowing to spread word of humanity's honor and bravery. Back aboard the Titan, Monroe sat in his quarters, reflecting on the day's events. They had faced hostility, suspicion, and even open aggression, but they had persevered without losing sight of their mission's purpose. Humanity had begun to carve out a reputation not only for strength, but for principles. A soft chime echoed through his quarters, and Era's voice filled the room. Captain Monroe, Counselor Leora has requested a follow-up communication. Monroe straightened, ready to face whatever came next. The Confederation might still have doubts, and there would undoubtedly be more challenges ahead. But with allies like Karak, and even tentative trust from figures like Leora, Monroe felt that humanity's place among the stars was now secured. With a sense of renewed purpose, he tapped the comms. Put her through, Era. Let's see how we continue building this alliance. As Leora's face appeared on the screen, a spark of hope glimmered in Monroe's eyes. The mission on Zura Prime had been a test of humanity's resolve, and they had passed it. Now their journey in the galactic community could truly begin.